What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video I'm going to be breaking down and reacting to some of the Transformers reveals which have been shown off across Hasbro's 1027 event and MCM London Comic Con, which has to be one of my most anticipated events of the entire year. And let's just say that Transformers are on fire right now as we head into 2024, the enormous 40th anniversary for the brand. It is set to be an absolute banger of a year, so let's break down what they showed off for their 1027 event. Now, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting much if we were to go by previous years. These events tend to be quite light when it comes to reveals. I was expecting maybe an unboxing of the upcoming HasLab Deathsaurus, as that was shown off pretty much a year ago now, but no, they showcased potentially one of their biggest character reveals for Transformers Legacy United. It's the Commander class, and it is the Beast Wars universe, Magmatron. Now, the fact that we are seeing this so early in October of 2023, I think is kind of crazy, as these Commander class figures don't tend to kind of be released until summer of the year they're supposed to come out. So I am wondering if they've revealed this so early to kind of prep us for maybe the Studio Series 86 Commander. I think it would be amazing if maybe they gave us a Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. It would be a great item to kind of celebrate the 40th anniversary for Transformers. But let's check out Magmatron. So here we have him in his three distinctive beast modes. I'm honestly not going to try and butcher the pronunciation of their individual names, as we'll be here all day, but they do look pretty promising, especially for something which ultimately is a mainline combiner. The Giganotosaurus, I think, is the best out of the three beasts, with the Pterodactyl / Pteranodon following very closely behind, although the Sky and Seasaurus have one huge common problem, and that's hollow neck syndrome. You're paying Commander class, you know, that's probably one of Hasbro's most expensive retail items. That is definitely something I would have hoped to have seen fixed, especially as it does stick right in your face the second you check their beast modes out. But they look awesome. The Seasaurus makes me hope that eventually maybe we can see a Studio Series Dinobot paddles, but yeah, these look pretty cool. And then we check out the robot mode, the Emperor of Destruction, Magmatron himself, and I think he looks brilliant. Now, I am hoping to see some size comparisons between him and some of the other Beast Wars characters, because from these images it's kind of difficult to gauge how big he is for a commander, but he does look brilliant. A great update to the original figure, which was super difficult to track down, and wicked to see Beast Wars Neo characters in the main line. I honestly would have thought this would have been a HasLab item because it is kind of niche, but this looks brilliant. He does include his Magma Sword, which is sick. I really like how the Seasaurus kind of becomes the shield. This does just seem to be a banger, and whilst it's not officially shown off, they did mention how in their beast modes they will also be able to combine into the Magmasaurus. Would have been amazing had they showed that off, but yeah, this is looking super promising. Now we have to check out the box art, which in itself is full of Easter eggs and teasers. So first up, we get a banging image of Magmatron. He will include a few blast effects. I believe they are repaints of the ones that we saw for Siege of Mega Supreme. Would be amazing if eventually they gave us a new blast effect sculpt, but if you check out the left hand corner, that does to me seem like a tusk, and whose tusk could it be? It has to be, of course, Magmatron's nemesis, Big Convoy. I would love to get a retail mainline version of Big Convoy. Now they've given us Magmatron, they have to give us that. Optimus Prime that turns into a mammoth, just absolutely crazy. I really hope that's either a leader or a commander class for next year. But yeah, this is looking pretty sweet. We also get some images of the back of the box. It looks to be a very solid commander. I mentioned this when I did my breakdown for the previous stream. For the 40th anniversary, they are going all out. They're not just strictly sticking to G1 like we have seen in previous years. They are expanding to all of the various different universes, and like I said, to have a Beast Wars Neo character as the commander class, one of their most expensive products, I think is definitely a great step in the right direction. Now we're going to check out one of their latest crossovers. This was one, I believe, that was showcased a couple of months ago, but we have some better images. So this is the Transformers and Stranger Things crossover, Code Red. This to me looks pretty cool. It seems to be maybe a retool of the Earthrise Ironhide, although it won't need to parts form. That's what I'm kind of gathering from some of these images, although it does seem to be a pretty good base for if they ever want to maybe reimagine a 86 version of Ironhide and Ratchet. Robot mode looks pretty cool. I love the weapons. The banner can kind of transform into a flamethrower. I would love to get a Demo Gorgon to kind of go along with this. He'll include a couple of energized weapons, and he does transform into an officially licensed Volkswagen bus. Now this was shown shown off yesterday. The second I saw that they were able to get the official VW license for this crossover, I knew that Studio Series Wheeljack would also be officially licensed, which we'll get into in just a bit, but that pretty much summarizes everything that was shown off for their 1027 event. Absolutely crazy, as I said, especially to see Magmatron. Now we get stuck into some of the MCM London Comic Con reveals, which to be honest are just straight up mental. Now as you guys all know, I am a live action movie fan to my core. When I found out that this entire event was going to be dedicated to Studio Series, I've quite literally been counting down the days. Some of the leaked listings proved to be super exciting. I mean, we've been speculating for a couple of months. Are we going to be seeing an 86 movie Megatron, a Bumblebee movie Megatron, etc.? Well, let's check out what they actually showed off. So first up, they started off with Core Class, but it is a pretty big drop. So it is Core Class Bumblebee movie Rumble concept. So yes, Hasbro is going to be introducing a Studio Series concept line, which I think is fantastic. I loved pretty much all of the Bumblebee movie Cybertronian figures they brought out a few years back. Was kind of bummed when they released them all together because it meant that the line was very quickly over. They're going to be continuing it with conceptualized designs, throwing it all the way back to the Revenge of the Fallen days, and I think he looks pretty cool. Now I do believe this character showed up in the novelization for Bumblebee, or some kind of story that followed after the events of the Bee film, and he was kind of an amalgamation of parts. They've decided to streamline the design down for this core class, I imagine just due to its scale. He is blue, much like the Studio Series 86 version, so that's kind of cool. And as you guys can see, he does transform into an almost proto-form entry-like shuttle. This is because, much like Ravage, he will be compatible with the Studio Series Soundwave, which I think is brilliant. It seems like he has a pair of blasters attached onto his back, and he of course comes with the classic pile drivers, which do appear to be a permanent fixture to the actual robot mode. So glad they are tapping into the conceptualized world, and it's not a great image, but you can kind of pick out the concept art on the front of the box. I hope if the Decepticons make their return for the next live action film, this is exactly how this guy looks. Now we're going to get stuck into a Bayverse character. Finally, after years and years of waiting, you know, 2023 was amazing for Rise of the Beasts. Kind of dry when it comes to Bayformers. We now finally have a brand new Bayformer mold, and it's from Transformers The Last Night, Core Class Mohawk. Super awesome that they are giving us some of those Decepticons which just never had figures when that movie dropped. I really don't know what they were doing when it came to that Transformers 5 toy line, but for a Core Class, this looks pretty impressive. I know we've seen quite a few third-party renditions of this character, but it is awesome to have some official acknowledgement by Hasbro themselves. I like that he includes the daggers, the Mohawk looks sick, and it does transform into a pretty accurate looking bike mode, although I do believe it was mentioned that it's not officially licensed. It's Core Class, I really wasn't expecting it to be, and it does look close enough to the movie. Now we have this guy I am clamoring for, a The Last Night Onslaught. I would love to get that character as a leader class. I thought he had such a banging looking truck mode. Now we're going to get stuck into some of the deluxe classes. I have been on the Rise of the Beast hype train since January, so it is wicked to kind of finally round off the core Autobots from that movie. We finally have Pablo, deluxe class Wheeljack, and first impressions are, the engineering does seem to be very similar to the Weaponizer version, which is the cheaper between itself and the mainline Deluxe. Not quite sure why it's not a retool of the Deluxe version, as that was banging, and as you can see, it does seem like they're using quite a few faux pieces. The mainline version never really did that, so I kind of wish they took inspiration more from that figure, but it still does look pretty cool. The doors as the wings kind of look inverted though. I believe they should be flipped the opposite way, but detail-wise, he does look pretty banging. The biggest inaccuracy that I've noticed with this figure is that he doesn't include one of those proper arm cannons. You know, in the movie, pretty much all of the Autobots had weapons which would transform out of their forearms. This Wheeljack's gun seems to be more based on, again, concept art, because it's an actual handheld blaster, which we never saw him use in the movie. And it is an officially licensed Volkswagen bus, which is a given. It's so wicked that for the most part, they were able to get all of the licenses for the Rise of the Beast vehicles. And if you weren't a fan of the robot mode, then I really think you will be here of the alt mode, as it does look brilliant. Now we get stuck into another kind of conceptualized character. This one's almost half and half. This is a Rise of the Beast deluxe class Scorponok. Now these were featured quite a lot throughout the final battle of the movie, but they never transformed and they weren't really their own distinct character. Now because we only see this guy in his Scorpion mode in the movie, that that's what we're going to check out first, and I think for the most part it looks brilliant. Now they have decided to kind of go with the purple metallic hue, that as opposed to the more common green that we saw throughout the film. I believe there were in total 3 colours. I think there was kind of a purple, a green and a blue, so I imagine we will see those repaints down the line, but for a beast mode this looks really awesome. It seems like all of the legs for the most part will be on ball joints, the scorpion head looks fantastic, and they never transformed in the film, so again Hasbro kind of delving into that whole kind of conceptualized realm. We have what I think looks to be an almost Fall of Cybertron kickback design. Because it's very Insecticon-like, I'm going to roll with it. I think it looks pretty cool for kind of a what-if Scorponok transformed. Pretty decent details. I do like how the scorpion claws kind of come up behind the head and on the shoulders. That creates for a very ferocious look, although the tail transformation seems to be super lazy. I hate it when they just rip parts of the beast mode off and are like, there you go, you have yourself a mace, you have yourself a club. I don't really like that. I would have much preferred it had it actually integrated into the robot form. But, you know, this guy never transformed. Scorpion mode is definitely the form that I'm going to be storing him in. Now we get stuck into some of the Voyagers, which, surprisingly, I think were some of the most lackluster reveals from this event. So, up first, we have a Voyager Class 86 movie Scrapheap. So, a retool of Junkion Wreck-Guard that we saw released, I want to say around about 2021. Then last year, we had Junkyard, which was a pretty cool retool. And this one, out of the repaints and retools, does seem to be the best. They have really heavily modified the legs, the head, the arms, and he does include a brand new blaster, that being a gun. Looks pretty sweet. The bike mode, I think, has the biggest differences though. The entire front end of the cockpit has been completely redesigned. There were so many Junkions in that movie. I don't think Hasbro are going to put this mold to bed anytime soon. I imagine this time next year we may even have a new Junkion. But it's cool for those of you that, like myself, are kind of mourning the loss of the legacy Junkions. Now we get stuck into one which should be super exciting, but I'm going to be honest guys, is super lackluster. This is a Voyager class War for Cybertron Gamer Edition Starscream. Now the Gamer Edition subline in general, I think, has got to be one of the weakest lines we've so far seen from Studio Series. With the exception of Optimus Prime, who even then wasn't great, the entire line in my opinion has been a massive tank. I really haven't liked most of them. Bumblebee was decent, but not a huge improvement over its original counterpart, and I think the Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Starscream does seem to be better than this one. I mean, first of all, what are they doing when it comes to that cockpit? The cockpit looks terrible. It kind of has no armor on the bottom end of it, meaning that it really does look like it's been cut clean in half. The club slash the mace, I think, is just appalling for a Studio Series. Really doesn't seem to be super detailed as we would expect from this line. Really not liking this Starscream. And then when we check him out in the jet mode, it looks decent. The wings are just way too small. Now, I know in the video game they were on the smaller side, but not to this extent. I really think this is again going to be a massive tank when it comes to Gamer Edition. I really don't know why this subline seems to be some of the weakest Studio Series entries we've ever seen, but I'm hoping after this they really up their game, as, yeah, these are not too clever. But now, this is the reveal that we have all been waiting for, the leader class. Is it going to be an 86 Megatron? Is it going to be a Bumblebee movie Megatron? Yes, it's a leader class Bumblebee movie Megatron concept series. Crazy. This has got to be one of the most jaw-dropping reveals I think I've seen for Studio Series in a very, very long time. So, let's check his robot mode out. I believe this is based on a few assets which originally were going to be used for the B movie. We even saw one of them recently featured on the box art of a mainline, kind of oversized Titan Changer Megatron for Rise of the Beast, so we know his design for that film does exist. Ultimately, he was cut because I think they were trying to go with the whole prequel to the Bayverse films, but Hasbro finally officially acknowledged this guy, and he looks fantastic. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any images of him stacked up alongside any leaders or Voyagers, so it's really difficult to gauge his scale. I'm hoping he's as enormous as the silhouette that we were shown by YOLO Park a few years back, but for the most part, robot mode looks brilliant. I do believe he even has an articulated index finger, so that's really sick. My only issue with his robot mode design, and this could simply just be the photography, is he doesn't have kind of the barrel hanging over the top of the shoulder to recreate that classic kind of G1 Megatron silhouette. But it does seem like the fusion cannon can be broken apart in 2 pieces, so maybe that is a look you can have. And then we check out the tank mode, which really does seem to be a direct rip-off of the Monocrat Mega Tank that a third-party company produced, I believe, last year. But it looks awesome, a great throwback to kind of the Metal Slug designs. I really like the tank mode, fits Megatron perfectly. They were never going to have this guy transform into kind of a laser cannon, and whilst it's not shown off in this image, when they whacked out the turnarounds, it was confirmed this Megatron will be a triple changer changer. I believe the first Studio Series figure ever to be a triple changer. Kinda sucks that Shatter and Dropkick got the short end of the stick, but wicked. Now, it doesn't seem to be the best out of his 3 modes. I kind of look at it as a bonus form. He never transformed in the movie because he never was in the movie. The tank mode is definitely his more solid look, but I guess to kind of play into the whole Bayverse prequel idea, maybe this could be that Cybertronian jet which shows up in the 2007 movie. There are some vague similarities, but ultimately it does just come across as a big hunk of junk. So robot and tank mode I think are good enough, and that pretty much wraps it up for all of the reveal. So crazy stuff. I mean, Studio Series without a doubt has been the biggest highlight of this weekend, but to see the Commander class for Legacy United so early is crazy. Completely took me by surprise, and as I mentioned before, I am wondering if maybe they have revealed it so early to kind of prep us for the next Studio Series Commander. That could definitely be what they're up to, but let me know your thoughts down below, and until my next video, I will see you then. Thanks for watching.